Chester, just to start with, tell me how it came about that you got the job as the scoreboard operator for the A's. What year, and just give a little backdrop of that.
I started in Oakland in 1969. I was a high school teacher, and I taught and I coached. So I coached baseball, football, night school, summer school, anything to make extra money, because just a singular teaching income, you can't make it. Okay, so someone's got to work a second job, and my wife was taking care of the children, and so I had to find extra work. So one day while coaching, we were in the coach's office, football, the assistant general manager of the Coliseum, a guy named Don Warner, came in and said, Mr. Finley is installing $1 million scoreboards sponsored by Atlantic Richfield. And so they're paying $200,000 a year or whatever like that, for the advertising rights and such. And they need 2 scoreboard operators for the IBM 1131 computer that was going in. And in those days, it was a huge machine with 1 megabyte of memory. So you didn't do much on the computer, but it was pretty good. So anyway, the head football coach, Ray Crawford, and we got together and said, let's get this job. We know baseball. He was a baseball player. I was a baseball player. Let's get this job. So we went, the training was going to be, as it turned out, it was very fortunate, the training was going to be during Easter vacation. And then 1 week after the training is over would be opening day. All right. So we meet at the Oakland Coliseum, and there's 19 of us in a big room. And we're told no one gets paid for the training. Only 2 of you will be selected at the end of the week, and away we go. So we had to do homework and stuff. And so, for example, the next day we would come back, we were given these big books, try to get through chapter 1 and 2 and see what you could do. Dave, did you do our little assignment about messages? The kids, sore throat, tonsillitis. Bob, how about you? So finally they came to us, and we had not only did we do our homework, but we did 3 and 4 chapters ahead. So after 2 days of this, they let everyone else go, and Ray and I stayed on. So we finished, and we got the job. But a cute little story. I told Ray, I said, now we put in 5 days here, 3 hours a night in homework to get this job. So let's charge Mr. Finley $250 each. And now here's where we got to stick together. From now on, if I'm going to do the negotiating and you want me to do it, okay, then if he fires me, then you got to not work. And if he fires you, then I got to not work. Fair enough? Fair enough. So then I called the secretary, Carolyn Coughlin, at the Coliseum for the A's, and I told her what I needed. And she said, well, I can't authorize that and what have you. And I said, well, how can I speak with Mr. Finley? Here's his number in his office in Chicago. And so I called him and told him what we needed, and he hung up. There again. So I don't know what's happening. So he called back later that night at my house and what have you. And he goes, 250, huh? You're holding a gun to my head, Ace. That was his nickname to me. That was the first time he used it. From then on, as long as I knew him. Ace. You're holding a gun to my head, Ace. That was one of his favorite lines. And I says, I'm not, Mr. Finley. This is only fair. We're family men, for crying out loud. He has 3 children. I have 2. We put in all the free time that my kids were looking forward to doing something with Daddy and couldn't do it. All right, Ace. And that's it. And that's how it started. And then Ray Crawford stayed with us for about 5 years, and he moved his family. And I've been there ever since.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah, I finished 48 years. I'll be starting year number 49.
It's funny, that story, because it seems that negotiation is so opposite of anything, whether it was a player or a stadium worker, that wasn't what Finley did. It was his way, or that was it.
I have to just say this. He liked me better than his own children. Okay? For some reason, he liked me. And as we go on with this conversation, you'll see what I mean. And they're all not what you'd expect. But just to help you out here, I just want to say this. For people out there in the viewing audience right now, for you sitting right here, what's the easiest way to describe Charlie Finley? And the answer is, it's funny, I never knew it until I just recently in politics and what have you. It's Donald Trump. What you see in Donald Trump, what you believe in Donald Trump, the kind of guy he is and so forth and what have you, and I don't want to go into it. Okay, that was Charlie Finley.
How so? I know you don't want to go into it that much, but what do you...
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's my way or the highway. Kind of gruff. All of those kinds of things are basically, that was Charlie Finley. And he tried to save a nickel wherever he could. I think Trump tried to save money or however, and whether he had a bankruptcy or whatever, somehow it's going to work out for him and so forth. That was Charlie O.
That is such an interesting comparison, but the thing I think of with Trump is, as polarizing he is, as he is, all the people that dislike him, he's got a whole legion of people that love him. Finley, it doesn't seem like that. It almost seems like it's almost all one way, but you seem like you're the exception. So tell me about, what do you remember about the first time you met Charlie and how that went?
Well, the first time I met him was really on the phone. And most of the conversations that we ever had were long distance on the phone. So he always said, you know where to reach me? And I tell him, you know where to reach me? So he had my number, I had his number. If I needed to talk to him, it was over the phone. And if I needed a raise, it was over the phone. Okay, so the actual time that I met him, I can't remember. It might have been for the 1971 playoffs. We were in the playoffs from 71 through 75. I think it might have been then. And I probably met him down in the press lounge and where we eat, something like that. But I'm sorry I don't have a more dramatic story.
No, that's good. And because it's interesting when you called to negotiate and he said no, most people would probably just walk away. You didn't. Do you think maybe it's because he's a businessman first, that maybe he sort of respected and appreciated that you were calling and kind of negotiating what you thought?
You know, I never thought it through, but yeah. But let's go like this. I never asked for anything unreasonable, and it always made sense. So, for example, I asked for a fairly large raise for Ray and I the very second year we worked. Why? We had no idea how much work it took. You had to get there like 2 hours ahead of the game, before game time, to start loading in the computer with all the messages and so forth, and what your welcome messages or whatever, the lineups and so forth. And so that's a half-hour travel time there, 2 hours early there, 3 hour on average game, and a half-hour drive home and what have you. And so the money just wasn't enough. And he hung up on me a second time. He said, you're holding a gun to my head. And I said, no, wait a minute. You didn't call me until 5 days before the season. I've been sitting here not knowing whether or not I had a job. And by the way, I've never signed a contract, and I've never shook hands over working for the A's. So I'm kind of flying like these guys, independent, you know what I mean? On your own.
Was Charlie, when you would talk to him on the phone, or maybe better yet when you met him in person, you hear all these stories, was he an intimidating guy in person?
Yeah, very uncomfortable to be around him. Just, in fact, he didn't, when he was I have to be honest with you, when he was at the Coliseum, and when he first owned the team and the team was doing well, he would come out maybe once every 2 homestands. So there's only 12, 13 homestands. So he maybe came out 6 times a year, you know. So you don't get much of a chance to see him. And when I saw him, he was very, he got a kick out of me, but he didn't want me to hang around with him. That's one of the things you need to understand, which is he liked me from afar. Yeah, but I don't want to be pals with you. We're not going to sit around and have dinner together and so forth. But, he was, in other words, he seemed, when he was around me with other people, he needed to make sure that everyone understood that there's no favorites in this room. So I was treated just like the furniture, just like you're not even there. All right? And yet when he'd call, we'd have conversations that maybe went 90 minutes. He'd call me at 10 o'clock at my house, 11 o'clock. And he'd be maybe halfway in his cups, and he wanted to chat. And what do you think about this, Ace? And he was an idea person. He just wanted to, and they'll get a kick out of this, won't they? And whatever. And
what was he asking you about? Stuff for the scoreboard? Like, to give an example of what he would call you and run by you.
Well, these are just ideas that he had. Oh no, these were all about in baseball. Baseball. And so these were orange baseballs. He wanted to do orange baseballs, whatever like that. What is it called? Day Glow Orange or whatever, I don't know. And in fact, they even produced them, what have you, but Major League Baseball didn't go for them. But he would have lots of those ideas. And then they would go into politics too. I don't care so much about politics, but he wanted to, chat and what have you. I don't think this is fair, and why did they do this, and what have you. And very Trumpish in a lot of ways. I want to build walls and keep these people out of here and so forth. Finley, like I said, no different.
It's really interesting. We hear so many stories about, and none of them really seem so, he's a tough guy to deal with, and they're not exactly warm, but tell me the story about the 1972 League Championship Series, Detroit, and how your conversation with him and you ended up going. Give us a little background to that story and take us through that.
Well, sure. It was 1972, and it was late September, maybe the 20th, 21st of September, which in a lot of ways is kind of early, but anyway, we clinched our division. So we're going to the playoffs. And on that particular night, he was there. Mr. Finley was there in his box. And the team was ahead roughly 9-2, and now it's the seventh inning. So I told Roy Steele, the A's announcer, and Ray Crawford, who was next to me, my partner, and Lloyd Fox, who was the organ player for us. I says, I'm going to go down and ask Mr. Finley to go to the playoffs. He's not going to let you go and all this. Well, I'm just going to go ask him. The worst he could say is no. So if he says yes and what have you, you want me to ask for you too? And it's cute because that was a bad move. But anyway, they all went, yeah, Chet, yeah, we want to go too. All right. So I go down to his booth, and he's being interviewed by several press members. Okay, because now they want his reactions. It looks like it's here. What are you feeling? Excuse me, and so forth. So I go into his booth, and he goes, Ace, how come you're not running the board right now? And I says, Ray's got it. I came down to talk to you. Well, go ahead and ask. We have nothing to hide here. So I got to say it in front of all the press and everything. I said, Mr. Finley, I'd like to go to the playoffs with you. I've never been anywhere in my life. I said, I've never been south of Tijuana. I've never been east of Reno. I've never been north of Crescent City. And I've never been west of San Francisco. So that's where I've been. And he goes, oh. He said, I'll tell you what, if we make it to the World Series, you're going. I said, Mr. Finley, I don't know. You've been in baseball a long time. I've played, and the odds of us going to the World Series. First time, you put your toe into the water and what have you. Although we got in 71, we didn't go far. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I said, there's no guarantee. There is a guarantee, though, that we're going to the playoffs. All right, Ace, you're going. I says, thank you, Mr. Finley. But listen, Roy Steele and Ray Crawford and Lloyd Fox, they want to go too. You don't speak for them. You don't speak for them. If they want to go, tell them to come down and see me. And I did, and they did. So we were all invited to go to the playoffs. So, you want me to continue with the whole story?
This is great, yeah. I mean, because it's so different than what we hear about him.
Oh,
keep going.
Yeah, sure. All right. So, here's another cute story I'll tell you, going to the playoffs. The last game of the season was at home in Oakland. Okay, you had to bring your baggage and all like that, and they check it for you and whatever, and they're going to take it to the airport and all like that. And so,
This is still 72?
it's 1972. We're waiting to go to the bus to get on the airplane to go to Detroit. All the fans are down there and they're waiting for the ball players. One evening, this kid comes up to me and says, Mister, could I have your autograph? I said, I'm not a ball player. And I had a mustache and everything, and he goes, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. And I said, I'm not a ball player. Come on, mister, sign my thing. So I wrote Chester Farrow, scoreboard operator. So I handed him back the thing. You're just a scoreboard operator. I'm sorry. So that was kind of cute. So anyway, we go to Detroit, and it's on World Airways. I forget the guy's name who owned World Airways. He was a buddy of Charlie Finley's. But anyway, so we go and it's chartered, and the menu on the plane was Joe Rudy, filet mignon, a sal bando, baked potato, whatever, just first class. Everything was first class with Mr. Finley when he, in fact, if you want to know about, we used to have an open bar at the Coliseum. From the time I got there in 1969 until about 1974, it was all catered, slicing station, you name it, fill in the blank. You could drink 2 hours before the game and for 2 hours after the game. Okay? So in other words, he tried to do everything like the Yankees do. He really tried. And then he got frustrated with the free agency and all that. But anyway, let's go back to Detroit. So we go to Detroit, and it's very nice. And we had the first day was off when we landed there, and so what did we do? We got a rental car, and we went into Canada, and we came back, and it was kind of like, all right, that was fun, what have you. Okay, so now comes the next day. It's our first game in Detroit. Remember now, we had won the first two in Oakland. So now we're going for the sweep. So we go out there, and there's 2 buses and 2 limos. 2 buses and 2 limos. So we go out there, and so somebody's out there directing, and they go, the press, here are the 2 buses. Get in these buses right here. Okay. So we get in the bus. Roy Steele gets in the bus. Lloyd Fox gets in the bus. Ray Crawford did not go. His wife was expecting a child, and so he passed on it. So pretty soon we're about ready to leave. And someone comes in the door and says, where's Chester? I said, I'm right here. And Lloyd Fox and Roy Steele, come here. So we go, what's the problem? No, we have a limo for you. A limo for you. We had a limo every day going to the ballpark. Pretty sweet. I said, well, we got in the limo and it was nice, what have you, and it was crazy. In Detroit I did this. But anyway, it was a day game. It was about 3 hours early. I says, let's take a little cruise around town. Show us the hot spots, whatever you want, whatever. So we took a little ride, and that was kind of fun, what have you. Now, the next part is like interesting further. So I get my tickets, and I says, where's our people? Oh, everybody's up there on the second deck. So without thinking, the 3 of us walked up to the second deck, and we handed our tickets to the usher. And the usher says, oh no, you're right behind the Detroit dugout. You're in a box seat. Oh, we are? So we go down, who's my seatmate? In other words, there was room for 6. There's 3 of us there, seatmate. The mayor of Detroit's wife, good-looking 50-year-old. I said, where's the mayor? She goes, you're doing mayor things. I says, oh. I says, I got licorice drops and I got sunflower seeds for the game. She goes, I love licorice drops and I could eat sunflower seeds all day. I said, well, so we had a great time. Plus, we lost that first game, game 3. We lost the game 4. So I was able to be amongst happy Detroit people while I was in Detroit. And we were invited to several affairs and dinners and things and took advantage of all of it. We just loved it. So that's, see what he gave me? It's unbelievable. I'll tell you another thing. After the Detroit series, I had enough. I just went, I've had enough. I miss my wife and all like that. So I go to Mr. Finley and I tell him, Mr. Finley, I'm going to get a different flight home. You guys are going to fly to Cincinnati after we won the 5th game. And I think that's when Reggie broke his leg. I think so. But anyway, I'm going to fly home because I miss my wife. You're going to call your wife, and she's going to fly out here on me. And I went like, well, how do you'll have to pay for it yourself, but we'll reimburse you, Chet. I mean, Ace, as soon as we get back to Oakland and what so flew her out. I stayed for Cincinnati and.
I mean, these stories are so amazing because maybe you didn't know it at the time, or maybe you did, but just how opposite this seems of how, from everything we hear, from everybody he dealt with, from star players to his own family, to people in the ticket office, to assistants, about how it just wasn't him, personally, financially. Why do you think he did that? Or were you aware of that at the time, that this was not Charlie Finley?
Yeah, it's like this. I never let anything go to my head. It is what it is. I didn't make it that way. But I learned one thing early on and what have you. It's another Charlie Finley story. One of the things that I had to do and what have you, I no longer have to do these things. There are people that do these things for me. But I used to have to go down to the press area and all the stats, get all the stat sheets and what have you, lineups, enter all that stuff into the computer prior to each game. So I go down there and I hear the traveling secretary, whose name I forget, but that's a plum job. Traveling secretary in the majors. You're doing a lot of arranging, phone calls and such, but it's a well-paying, it's a good job. So this guy is talking to, I don't know, someone, and I don't know if he was in the press. And he said something about Finley. And I take those papers down and I get back to work and what have you, and I'm going, these people got to learn to keep their mouth shut. One of the things you have to learn, excuse me, it's over now, but one of the things you had to learn with Charlie Finley is zipper the lipper. Just, you're going to see a lot of things. You're going to hear a lot of things. Don't share it. Now, can you share it with your friends at home, playing softball, going bowling, talking to your family? Sure. You don't have to worry. But to badmouth him where there's so many ears, to make a long story short, by the 9th inning he was fired. Don't know who said what to whom. Maybe to the person he was talking to. Just like that. Wow. Just clear out your desk. Carolyn Coffin will make your final check for you, and we're all done. Whew. Give you chills. I've never had the chills, okay, in the workplace. Why? Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I mean, I read that, Alvin Dark had even just said a comment about, Charlie could be this, and then he would go to his room at 2 in the morning after drinking his scotch and said, you're fired. You didn't cross him, I guess. If he liked you, it seems like you were certainly one of his guys. He would take care of you, but if you didn't.
Well, I'm just saying, if you open your mouth, he doesn't want you around. And that's it. Now, if you open your mouth and you go, gee, it's cold outside, you still have your job. But if you want to talk about Mr. Finley in the workplace, you don't know who's listening where. The
stories are pretty famous about players renegotiating with him, whether it was Reggie or Vito or whatever. How about yourself? Like, how about just not the playing personnel, but other staff? You know, you told us the first story about how when you got your job. How about when it was time for, do you have any personal stories or experiences like that, renegotiating deals?
I think I told you just a little earlier in our interview that in the second year, I needed to have a raise. And so Mr. Finley, you know, I called him and he hung up and so forth and all like that. You know, almost everything with a raise included a hang up from him. And what that did was he told you, I heard bad news, I don't want to hear it. Okay, good. And then it gives him time to figure out what do you want to do with this guy. You want to fire him? Retrain new people? What do you want to do? And in those days, that was not a simple thing. These days, it's much simpler. But in those days, it was a tough call because there's a huge training that'll have to take place. And the people that trained me and what have you were basically gone and no longer in business. Now what do we do, you know? So.
He seemed, from everyone we speak to, so hands-on, whether it was talking to a manager about a lineup or whether it was, how about with your job?
Nope. It was just, he let me do what I needed to do, what have you. I used to put a personality in the scoreboard. I can't hear you. Come on now, a little louder. Those kind of things, like there's an actual person and what have you. Go, have fun. You know, just do your thing. Now I will tell you a side story, okay, that, well, there's two little stories. Now this is what Charlie Finley used to like to do. Call me up and say, Ace, I need a message. Okay, Mr. Finley, I got the pencil right here. What's the message? And it's usually the Oakland A's welcome so-and-so and whatever. Okay, no problem. When are you going to put that up, Ace? When would you like it? When the A's are up in the fifth inning. Okay, whatever. No problem. So he calls one day and he goes, Ace, I need a message. I said, okay. He says, and he used foul language anyway, but he says, Bowie Kuhn is at the A's game tonight. Mr. Finley is in Chicago. And I go, oh, okay. So you want me to welcome Bowie Kuhn, Commissioner of Baseball? That isn't what I had in mind. I'll tell you what I want. Okay, Mr. Finley, what would you like? I'm having a hard time here. See, the A's welcome. No, let's not do A's welcome. Let's just put Bowie Kuhn on the board. Yeah, let's do that. And I go, Mr. Finley, usually the protocol is the Oakland A's welcome, whoever, Commissioner of Baseball, those kinds of things. I know what they do. Oh, all right. I wrote it down, Mr. Finley. Yeah, write it down. Put it in. Yep, no problem. When do you want it? This inning, whatever inning. Good, you got it. I never wrote it down. Not putting that up. Just not going to do it. It's not proper. So now comes the half inning before the message is going to go up, which just says Bowie Kuhn. Ace. The phone rings. Ace. I've been thinking. All right. Let's go ahead and do the Oakland A's welcome Bowie Kuhn, Commissioner of Major League Baseball. You sure that's what you want, Mr. Finley? And I had already made that one out. Are you sure that's what you want, Mr. Finley? Yeah, Ace, go ahead and do it. All right. And so that's what went up. But I'm telling you, any way that if he didn't like Bowie Kuhn, he felt that Bowie Kuhn was just always in his way, and if we could get rid of him, Mr. Finley could do better. Yeah.
That's a great story. Clearly he liked you, he took to you and everything. Have you ever thought about what if he never called and you didn't do the message and he found out? What would he have done?
He would have called and said, Ace, how come the message isn't up there? And I go, Mr. Finley, I've been inundated here. We have a problem with the software, and here we go. I got things too, So we're gonna keep the Oakland A's at a respectable level here, We're not gonna sink to what you've got in mind. And so that's the way it generally worked out like that. He'd tell me, Ace, I want you to put this message up, and this is how I want you to put it. Hey, not too complimentary. But I don't say those things. I say, okay, Mr. Finley, and I don't write it down.
You mentioned you told us already about how he told you to tell the other guys to come ask him, and he pointed the finger. You told me about the traveling secretary and this. Do you have any other examples of when you might have seen, maybe not towards you, just where you've witnessed Charlie's temper or his, I don't want to say vindictiveness, but just his personality overall?
Since he has passed, I don't mind sharing this story. We're in the elevator going up in a hotel in Detroit. Excuse me, in Cincinnati. His children were there, his wife was there, and all like that. So it's dinner on Mr. Finley. But the seating arrangement is going to go like Roy Steele, Lloyd Fox, Chester Farrow, his 2 or 3 kids, and the ball girls, something like that. There'll be around 7 or 8 of us. And we're in the elevator going up. So we're going up about 5 floors. So for 2 or 3 solid floors, the youngest of Finley's children kept going, but I don't want to sit with those guys. I want to sit with you, Mommy. And then, pow! Backhand to this child. What would you do today?
How old was the kid?
Oh, I don't know, 12, 10, not like a little, no, you understand that one. No, this was you're a little older. You don't do those kind of things. So that's how much time he gave the kid to respond. None.
Wow, well, that's his own kid.
There you go.
Wow,
in case you're wondering about whether he had anger on the edge of his whatever, there you go. Now, if he did it today, and now we're talking about a conundrum. What do you do? What do you do? Because I know what's right and wrong. But you have to understand, at my age now, and the times we're in, my response might be like, hey, Mr. Finley, something like that. I wouldn't probably tackle the guy and I wouldn't punch him. Because, by the way, if you're going to, that's your child. So maybe that's how they do discipline in his home. So I don't, so it's sometimes better just to, it's like a man slapping his wife. Hey, now what are you going to do? Are you going to go jump in?
Sure, I think it's almost like he was meant for that time too. Even with his kid, I feel like, this day and age with camera phones and Twitter, I feel like there would be, he'd have to have a press conference in 5 minutes.
Right.
And
But Mr. Finley couldn't live in this era.
Yeah.
He couldn't be his.
Yeah. How about the teams? And a couple more for you, and I know you have some stories. You had your role there playing, but you're there. You're around this, one of the great, colorful dynasties of all time. Not only are they winning, but there's fights in the clubhouse and there's personalities clashing. Did you see some of that up close?
No. See, in other words, I made it a point, even though my credentials allowed me at the time, what have you, to go all these places you're talking about, including the dugout, including the clubhouse. But I did experience the groupies. So if you want to know a story about like that, which is like, they'd be waiting kind of at the little entrance, or it'd be the exit for the players finally exit, and that's how I exit. Same way to go to my car to go home. And the players would be coming out and what have you, and there'd be like 7 girls and 3 players. Ace, well, they didn't call me Ace, Chet, you want to come along? We're going into the Marriott or wherever, right here on Oakland, so forth. So it's like I always had invitations to go along with that, but after a while I went, wait a minute, I got to get up and go to work. I'm a teacher. I get up at 5:30. Games would get over because they usually started around 7:30 or 8, not 7 o'clock like today. So by the time I just couldn't do that. But that's about as close as I ever got with the players. And I never heard heavy stories, about Mr. Finley. There'd be barking, and then they'd laugh, and they'd make jokes, and whatever. That's fine, But I never saw them tangle with him personally.
What was the greatest memory for you being around that dynasty team, your job? What when you look back at those years being around Charlie and those winning teams in the 70s, what was the best memories for you?
Yeah, they're all good. Boy, to do a best, probably just like I just described a little bit ago, going to the World Series, the playoffs and World Series, and being treated like a king. Those are my memories. See, I read about, and of course, being at the age you hear about, the players not getting along and grumping about this and that, and what's he done now, and what does he want him to do now, and all like that. But I never had actual an observation of those kind of things, But just I'll give you another little story about Mr. Finley. In those days, this was like on a Saturday night. My wife and I and kids were visiting my mother and father in Pittsburgh, California. And my mother asked me, she told me, get rid of that mustache. I've always hated that mustache. And I says, I know, Ma, you've told me about 10 times or whatever like that. I'm going to probably have this on forever, and so far I do. She goes, I'll give you $5,000 to cut off that mustache. And I said, $5,000? I could cut off the mustache for $5,000. It's easy to regrow it. You can't regrow it while I'm alive. And she was in good health and still working. I said, Ma, I can't do it. I can't do it. Fast forward 2 days to a Monday night. Mr. Finley used to have Monday night, half-price Monday nights. And he came to one of the games. Wow. And he actually ate downstairs with us in the press lounge. I'm not at his table, don't get me wrong. However, we went up together in the elevator. He was going to turn right and go to his suite, and I'm going to go left to where the scoreboard area is, and we're in the same elevator. And this is when he had offered all the players $300 to grow a mustache. And I think most all of them did. For $300. They grew a mustache. We're in the elevator, he says, Ace, would you shave that mustache if I gave you $300? Isn't that something? I told Mr. Finley, 2 nights ago, my mother offered me $5,000 for the same thing, and I passed. I'm sorry, I can't accept your $300. Oh, he laughed. He thought that was cute. Well, that's it. He went right, I went left. So you have to understand, he and I we spent moments together. Even when I was with him in the playoffs and the World Series in the same hotel, maybe 2 floors away. Okay? Did I have any interaction with him? Nope. Now, you go downstairs, what have you, it's 4 in the afternoon. All the drinks are on Mr. Finley. Ace! On me. There you go. So those kind of memories and those kind of things, wonderful. But did he and I share drinks together? No. It's a big bar, goes all the way. He's over that side with people that he wants to be with.
But he had a generous side.
He did, with me. I couldn't believe it. Now, don't get me wrong, as the years went on and free agency came about, he then turned a little ugly. He was very sour. He felt like he had been wronged because it was hard for him now to operate in what you call free agency. See, before, you wanna raise? No. Well, then I'm not going to play. Don't. No recourse. So all the rules of the game changed. And Mr. Finley realized that he was a small player in a big player's game. So there were a lot of owners like that could handle it before free agency. They simply made out a budget. I'm not going to spend more than $2 million. You get 80,000. 80,000. I only made 79,000 last year, and I hit 41 home runs and 105 RBI. One more time, 80,000, and we just keep moving on. And that's what.
Did you stay in touch with Charlie throughout the years once he was no longer with the club, or no?
I did not. I asked one time. I reached out to him one time when the Haas family owned the A's, and they were going to do a 1972 reunion thing, and they wanted, well, they mentioned that they'd like to have Charlie Finley there. And so I called Mr. Finley and asked him if he'd come out, and he said, no, I won't be out there, and so forth. I said, well, okay, Mr. Finley, whatever. Keys. That's the last we ever talked.
Any stories that I didn't get to that you have on your list you want to take a...
I got one here. This is in the early 70s, the time we're talking about. I used to manage a band. You know, I taught school and I managed a band. All right, how do you have time for all that? I don't know. It just, you make it work. And it was a little country rock band. And the name of the band was Blackjack. And it was, we tried to be like the Eagles, but we weren't that good, and the tunes weren't that good, and so forth. And so I called up Mr. Finley at his office, and I said, Mr. Finley, our band would love to play for in between the double headers. We'll be on a flatbed truck, we'll roll it out, what have you, be right behind home plate, facing the main audience and what have you, and put it over the PA system at the Coliseum, and it'd be a great thrill for our band, and no charge to you. He said, when do you want to do it? And I said, let me ask the band and what have you like that, what date they like to do, you know, good. We did, and we played. And the audience liked it, and Mr. Finley heard good things about it and all like this. And this gets to the firing thing. Here we go. So the second year, what have you, Mr. Finley, can my band play again? Sure. Pick a Sunday. All right, you don't even got to tell me which one it is. Just do it. We have no entertainment in between and so forth. All right. So we picked a Sunday and all like that. Our lead guitarist did not arrive. He had problems at that time or whatever. So anyway, he didn't show up. Uh-oh, what are we going to do? You know, we were supposed to be a 5-piece, now we're a 4-piece. Whatever. What are we going to play? Chet, what do you think? We have this song and this song and this song, like 5 songs. And I said, where's Sadie? Sadie said that she loved me. Dun, 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 dun. Cute little tune. Dun, dun, dun. See? Very nice. They go, Sadie, you sure you want Sadie on the set list? You kidding me? Of course. So they're playing, everybody's having a good time, what have you. They get to Sadie, and they're playing Sadie, and what have you like that. I don't know, sound good to me. Everything sounds good to me. As soon as the band was done, I'm up in my booth now. As soon as the band is done, it's approximately 10 minutes before the first pitch. 10 minutes. The front office personnel, there's not that many, but the front office personnel from the A's come in to our booth. And I go, hey, Jim, hey, how you doing, Steamboat? You know. What were you thinking? What? What the hell were you thinking? You're going to get your ass fired over this. I don't, what are you talking about? Yeah, that song. What song? That's Sadie's song. Sadie's song. Yeah, I don't know. Now you need to understand, I'm a tune guy. If you got a good tune, that's fine. I make up my own songs in the shower. I mean, my own words. I don't need I make up my own. So actually, I don't really know the words to almost any song. It's just the tune that gets me. Sadie. Chet, the very last line is, she loves me, da, 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 while I'm on the bottom and she's on the top. I went, holy Christ. Is that what? I'm on the, ay, ay, ay. Oh, man. So they said, Finley wants you to call him right now, downstairs, use our phone. And they were in the office there. I was like, I don't know if they were salivating, going, he's going to get his ass fired, or if they were like really concerned for me that I might get fired. And in my heart of hearts, I did not feel like I would get fired. Mr. Finley, Ace, what the hell are you doing? Mr. Finley, and I told him the same thing I told you. I like tunes. I don't listen to the words. I'm sorry. We won't play that song again. We play it in high schools, nightclubs, whatever. This is not a high school, and this is not a nightclub. This is a damn baseball stadium with a baseball crowd. I said, I get it now, Mr. Finley. I get it now. All right, Ace, go back to work. So I handed them the phone, and they go, what do you say? What do you say? And I said, I'm going back to work. I got to go to work. You're still working? So there you go. Yeah. So now you tell me if he had a thing for me. Don't let me analyze it. You analyze it. And there it is. And I see it now. I do see it now. Didn't see it then. I got it. Sometimes I have to make a mistake, kind of a big one, before I get something. And then I get it. But there you go. I was on the brink. They were going, shit, I don't think we'll see you you're not coming back here. You know, the guys in my booth. And I went, I don't. I think I'll be right back.
And you had some unique relationship with him, really.
Yeah, I can't really explain it. Like I said, he didn't want to sit with me, have a drink with me. He wanted to call me. Especially he didn't like when I called because he knew if I called, I'm probably looking for a raise or something. But he liked to call me. Why? I would entertain him. You know, and sometimes I just have to go, Mr. Finley, I got to go to bed now. Go to bed? I said, hey, Mr. Finley, it's 12 o'clock. It's 2 here? Come on. That's all you got? Going to bed? He liked to party. You know. And sometimes you'd hear the giggling of the gals in the background. And went, all right, Mr. Finley, sounds like you're partying. What are you doing, Ace? And I said, oh, well, we're having a little wine here or whatever, chatting. And so, like I say, it was phone is the main thing. And then for some reason, he just treated me well. You know, I don't. And I absolutely realize I'm not the norm.